Hi, and welcome to the first of this new series, which is going to be all UFO based. Going to get into the depths of everything to do with UFOs, just contributing to the UFO community. Um, I think I have a valuable insight. I'm doing this series to try and provide value, um, just to the community in general. Because I have been obsessed with this shit for over, well, fucking hell, 18 years. I'm 28, okay? So 18 years is a long time. It's quite a lot of my life that I've been just making sure this is working because it's the first time I've done this. So, yeah, quite a lot of my time I've been pretty obsessed with UFOs. I remember from a young age, even before I had my first experience, which was about the age of 10 or 10 to 12, around that zone. Um, I was always interested in like kind of planets, I was interested in Egypt. I remember as a very young lad, I did a history project at school that was something like why the aliens built the pyramids. That's crazy. So, definitely not influenced by my dad, who, and I think in the family we've got an interest in like space and things like that, which isn't disconnected to why I think I may have seen a couple of UFOs, and that's not because I'm special or anything like that. That's purely because I tend to stargaze a lot. Um, like any time I'm out in the night time, I'm just obsessed with stars and like celestial bodies and how they align, and like even to like ancient cultures and how they perceive them, and just being able to spot like um, the constellations in the sky, and be able to navigate when I go on night walks quite a lot and use the stars. Just I'm like, oh, the ancients would have probably used this to navigate east to west. But anyway, that's by the wayside. It's kind of irrelevant, all that bit. But um, what I'm trying to say is that ever since I had a first sighting, which was the first sighting was probably the craziest sighting, I've been obsessed, literally obsessed with this shit for a long time. So I've been down all the trenches, you know, um, in a weird way. I think seeing things at the age of 10 might have been, well, it might be a blessing now I'm through it, but there was a point where I just went way too deep, and I was believing everything because, if you have something that you literally see with your own eyes, and then there's people that are calling other people who have similar experiences crazy and on LSD and all that kind of stuff. You get a bit defensive because you're like, no, 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 no. I've seen this shit also, like with my own eyes. You can't tell me that this is fake. Okay. Now that is a probably not the best attitude to take, especially when the actual space is filled with a lot of fakes. Like I remember at a young age, I'd be buying all types of shit that was fake. Like there'd be a fucking video of someone with a pan like suspended in the air by a wire, and everyone would be saying, "Oh, that's clearly fake," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 UFOs are real. That's a real photo." Um, but obviously, it was fake. So there's a lot of growing up that has been done. There's been through a phase of um, buying all the shit, like even the weird shit, like the starseed shit, and you know, like, oh, your soul is from Lyra. If you have ginger hair, blue eyes, and 5'10", you're from Lyra. Oh, well, that fits me. Um, and then there's all these like, if you go into that side of things, it's weird. I know all about the um, lore of the supposed alien races that are meant to be here and visiting. Whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter. I just know a lot of it. um, but I think like 18 years is a long time to be obsessed with this stuff. So quite experienced with it. So, you know, just in this video, I'm just kind of wanting to go over what I'm going to be doing in this channel. And essentially, I'm just going to try and provide value to people who are interested in this, nothing more or nothing less. Like I haven't really formulated the plan too much. I just know that I'm passionate about this, and I've got a gene in my family that is a monologue gene, whereby um, once we start ranting, we find it difficult to stop ranting. And I feel like it's better for me to rant to a camera and maybe one person who wants to listen, um, rather than annoying my fiance by just chatting into her right ear the whole night about oh, the Zeta Reticuli Greys have fucking abducted some random geezer in Australia or some shit. Because she's not really that into it, and I don't blame her because it takes a type of person to want to get into this sort of stuff. But and also it's for my own benefit as well, just looking back and analyzing myself from a bit of an egotistical point of view to see, you know, in the future, what was I thinking, where was I wrong, where was I right. And also like the whole channel was is kind of for my daughter as well. um And if you go over to the Speak James part of the, well, that's just a vlogging part. Like if you're in here for the UFOs, you're probably not going to bother with that. But that's probably just going to be like for her alone and myself, because that's just a vlogging. And the essential, I've got this thing about I'm pretty interested in like family history as well. So you know, if my, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but if you could see your grandparents or your dad at the age of like 28, for example, or all the way through to the 60s, and seeing what he was thinking at the time, like what he was reading, what he was interested in, what he was like doing, and then you can, and then, you know, in the future, you already know the life story and how it progresses, but it'd be interesting to see how, like, would you not find it interesting to see how he maneuvered through life and got to where he got to, and like what he was feeling about things at certain times? I would love to see that about you know, how what my dad did and granddads and things like that. And you know, if passions are hereditary, if there's any, like, if I pass down any passions, whether she just has a genetic predisposition or whether she just hears me being passionate about it and becomes passionate about it, like, who knows. But if she has the same desire to want to see like what her dad was doing at 28, this is why I'm doing this also. um but yeah, so I'm doing this at risk of sounding like a fucking crazy person also. But you know, I think there's more value in someone who's just honest and kind of like unafraid, because there's definitely a bit of a, well, maybe not so much anymore, but like there was in previous generations a bit of a culture of not wanting to admit certain things that made you look crazy. And UFO was right at the top of that list. If you had seen anything weird, you were not going to be um, you were just not going to be admitting that to anyone unless you were like 20 pints in down the pub with Bob, who's also a cocaine addict, you know. Um, and I think the generation that I'm in, so born in '96, I'm like literally the crossroads between Gen Z and millennial. Like I'm in the middle. Um, so I think I've probably got the worst traits of both of them. Um, but one thing that's good, I'd say, about this generation is we're kind of less likely to just berate someone or call them, weird or kooky if they had seen something weird. We're probably more likely to be interested and analyze what they're saying and see if there's any truth in that rather than immediately dismiss it, which I know. The reason why I'm saying this is because I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent, but it'll get there. When you're buying a new car and you start seeing that car everywhere because it's in your subconscious now. It's like what the hermeticists used to be the wisdom, Mercury, in the Roman culture, and Thoth in Egyptian, and Hermes in the Greek culture, and it was wisdom. And essentially, they used to pray to this thing in your consciousness to like try and pluck the gold from all the crap, the lead. Like allow your subconscious to pick up um, the information that you need. So like, but it's just your subconscious doing its thing. Like if you're buying a new car, let's say a TT, an Audi TT, and then all of a sudden you've never seen it. You thought TTs were rare, and then you're going down the highway, the motorway, and then all of a sudden you see about 59 come past you all in a row, and you're like, what the fuck? That they all the TTs were always there. It's just now your subconscious is picking them up. I think when it comes to like first of all seeing them, but also meeting other people who have also seen weird stuff in the sky. I think like randomly, I met a couple of other people who have also seen UFOs, but I think it's because I'm quite open about it to most people who I feel comfortable around, and I'm passionate about it, so I'm always bringing it up to people. So I'm more likely to meet someone who has seen something as well because of that. So going back to the point about previous generations may be having like a fear, like because of a stigma. I know this because my fiance's stepdad, he's like a no bullshit type of guy. He's a really lovely guy, and you know, he eats meat and potatoes, and he drinks beer, and doesn't mess about with any of that silly nonsense, essentially. And I was speaking. We were down at a pub, and we were just speaking, and then I was like, you know, I saw something really weird over Leeds once, and he was like, I don't like tell it. Like I essentially told him my story, and I was like, I don't like telling people much because people think I'm crazy, or he doesn't want people to think he's crazy. But he was a witness of the Rendlesham. Is it Bentwaters or Brentwaters or something like that, down in Suffolk? Because fiance's family they're from Suffolk, and um, he saw he described it to me as it must be, I think it was the 80s. He was a young lad, 17, 18. I don't know how old he was. And he said that he saw these two like perpendicular purple lights in his back garden that were just hovering, and then it shot off somewhere, and he ran inside and told his mum, and his mum was called Jan, who I met, and she unfortunately passed away recently. She was a really nice lady, and we went down there, fucking mate. Talk about people who are obsessed with UFOs. She had spent a lot of her life also researching UFOs as well, and she handed me this book that she had a signed copy of the Halt Perspective, because her testimonial and her son, he's called Chris. I would give the surname. I don't know why. No one's gonna watch this anyway. But he wrote a letter. I think it was in the newspaper or something like that. But it made its way into this book anyway. You'll probably be able to find it in the whole perspective. But he said that he saw these lights, they shot off, and then Jan, the mum, essentially the next day, I think it was the next day, she went to assess the situation, saw that like the fence wire was like wrapped around the trees, and down in Suffolk it's really flat, so it's not like near where I live, in northern England. It's flat, so you can just like see for miles. It's just horizon everywhere you look around, and it's all farmers' fields. And she was looking over, and she can see her, like the closest house to her, which is, Lord knows, a mile or half a mile that way. And she went over to the, I think it's a baker or a butcher or something, and just asked like, "Did you see anything?" And the guy, he also saw it, and got really into it and they were talking. But yeah, which is just so coincidental because it's good because it's like a bonding thing. Me and him talk about it, and me and Jan talked about it too. We got on really well with it, but I think she was from a generation where she just did not give a fucking, she didn't give a fuck whatsoever. She would say just what was on her mind 24/7. Doesn't matter who was there, she would just say it, and I really liked that. But Chris is a bit more like reserved, doesn't want to say anything. I think it might have just been that generation type of thing because there was a lot of social pressure. But yeah, I think this generation doesn't have that, which is a great thing. Um, and if you go on like X, there's just a constant feed of people um, trying to get to the bottom of this. There's a lot of crap out there as well. I think in my time since about the age of 10, I have been through the ringer. Like, I've believed a lot of things that were untrue, because they weren't the people that were trying to invalidate what I had seen and said that it didn't exist. I said, oh, it does exist, but it's just this. So where I'm at currently is like, I'll get into my experiences of what I saw in a moment, but where I'm at is like, I know they exist. You can't tell me they don't exist because I've fucking seen it with these two eyeballs, and I'm not crazy. This was when I was first time was when I was 10 or 12. National gold medalist swimmer, training 7 to 9 times a week, mornings, evenings. All I did was swim and play Halo 3. That's literally all I did. So, and drink a copious amount of Coca-Cola. And I was just as sharp as anything because I was constantly doing cardio and constantly playing video games and constantly on caffeine. So, like, I felt like I was always thinking 7 steps ahead in any conversation. Like, and when it comes to swimming, I was just fucking zoom, almost British record holder for like certain age groups and stuff. This isn't to brag. This is just to say, like, I was pretty sharp as a kid. That all kind of stopped when I started drinking a little bit, which I don't drink anymore. But that takes a fucking it's a sucker punch to your cognitive abilities. I'll tell you that if you heavy drink for a while. But yeah, I was sober as a fart, as the saying is. Um, Seeing these things as a young age, and you know, if someone tries to invalidate what you've seen, especially when it's so confusing, because you don't realize other people have seen the same things, because it was kind of before there was a constant feed of other people talking about it on X or YouTube. It was like, this was probably about the start of Facebook, which was just people chatting on people's walls and stuff like that. So I kind of kept it a little bit quiet, but just went down deep rabbit holes on YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah, I did believe a lot of stuff, but I've come through it, and also I've got I'm quite good at being able to suss if someone's chatting shit or not. I think because although I've been duped a lot, but as I've got a bit older, I think because I've been duped a lot, I kind of, my bullshit radar, like I'm actually very skeptical of a lot of things these days, and it's quite hard to get me to believe something. I'm more likely to not believe something until like I'm certain to believe it, than just to jump in and give it the benefit of the doubt. Um, so, so well, I'll jump into my actual experience. So I've seen. I'm already gonna sound crazy, and here's that social thing coming on. But on on 5 occasions, okay, I've seen weird things. Now, only one of them has been massively spectacular, which is the first one. The others, one of them, I'm leaning towards it being different, and but I'm going to say it anyway, because like it's just all part of the experience, I think. But the first one is absolutely crackers, and there's no explaining it really. At 10, so every single time it's been these orange red orbs that look like flame. It looks like a flame, but it's a bit too red to be a flame. Sorry, it's a bit too orange. It's essentially like if you got a flame and then just turned the redness up ever so slightly, like a molten piece of iron. That's kind of what it looked like. Just steady, no flicker, just a steady orangey color. They've all been that, other than one of them, which is the one I'm less, which was more of a goldy color. And the longer time has been, the less like convinced I am of that one, because it's totally separate to all the other ones. And I think it was during a time where like I was had seen something and was like trying to pattern recognize. I was like, oh, is that thing? I'll get into the first one. Stop rambling too much. But the first one was 3 of them in a triangular like formation. Definitely 3 separate ones. Okay, and so I'll start from the very start. So it was actually coming out from a swimming training session, and I swam at a place called John Charles Centre for Sport. South Leeds Stadium was the athletics track next to it, and when you're coming out of, if you go on Google Maps, you could probably follow this journey. But if you're coming out of it towards Leeds, and you take a right at the first roundabout, and I think it's like called Bellevue Avenue or something like that. So you can either go down the hill or you go right. So we used to go either way, but and either way you get this view. But we took a right, and then if you go quite far down, I think you go over a bridge. It's been so long, but you go over something like it was during the winter, so there wasn't a lot of trees, and you can see because it's on a little bit of a hill elevated, you can see um, just the entirety of the city centre. And I always look at the stars. I'm always looking up, and I see this big bright red light, and I'm like, Dad, what is that thing? And he's like, that sun is it. That's Mars. Because you see, it's not flickering, which means it's not a star, and it's red. And the only red planet is, is Mars. So that's Mars. So I was like, I was looking at this thing, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then we got to the city center, and then you kind of like lose the planets behind the tall buildings and stuff. So you lose like sight to the sky. So then I just kind of forgot about it until I got to the other end, and I was like, I want to see Mars again. And I was just looking up, trying to spot Mars. I was like, Where's that star gone? And we were coming to All Woodley down Scott Hall Road. So again, you can follow this if you want. And we come up to the Moortown BP garage, and it was Scott Hall Road up to there. And in England, we drive on the left-hand side. So I looked up to the left, and I could just see these three orange orbs in a triangle formation, and they were not one singular object. Like after this, obviously you go down rabbit holes, and I've since this experience, I've seen the images of like the triangular shaped craft with three like orange dots around it. It wasn't one singular craft. You could tell because they were all like one, for example, like looked as if it turned around and flickered out, and then it turned back again, like the other way, like it did like a 360, and like it flickered in and flickered out, and I thought it had, like, because you've got no frame of reference, I thought that it just like shot off and then come back, but it was always there, and it just flickered in and flickered out. I didn't know really what to make of it. But they were all like traveling about the same speed as the car. So the car was at this point going about 20 miles an hour, because me and my dad were both staring at these things. And my dad was like, bloody hell, what the hell's that thing? Like in a thick Yorkshire accent, like, what the bloody hell is that? And I was just like mesmerized by this thing. And in terms of height, it was probably, I'm no good with estimating in like meters or anything, but if you were to get like an average tree, okay, and then times that height by like 3 or 4 or something, you'd have probably where it was, maybe a bit higher, but it definitely wasn't like helicopter or plane. It was pretty low, no noise, and it was going about the same speed as the car, and they were like all kind of bobbing a little bit. It's like it's as if someone had it literally a joystick, like trying to keep it straight. Um, Even though if you imagine like three ships or boats on like a bit of a choppy sea, you'd see they're all in formation, but they'd all be kind of just like wobbling a bit. And that's what it was kind of like. And then when you actually so we watched, the whole thing probably lasted about 60 seconds, and I was just watching it for about that long. I don't really know, but it wasn't too long of a time, but it was long enough to have a good old gaze at it. And I did try and take a photo of it with um, it was I had like a Nokia music phone, and if you know anything about phones on cameras on phones back in the noughties, you'd know that they were shite and they had no stability on it. So like if you were to go like that and take a photo as it was moving and there was lights, it would just like be a stream of lights. So that's essentially what the photos were. But it was so weird. The second we were staring, me and my dad were staring at this thing for, let's say, 30 seconds or 40 seconds. And I didn't want to take my eyes off it because I didn't know how long this thing was going to last. Like if you see something rare, or let's say if you, I don't know, if you see, right, if you're seeing a plane coming into land and you're seeing it, it's like just there, it's not high, and you're like, oh, I want to get a photo, but I also don't want to miss it. And by the time you go in to get your camera and bring it out, it's already passed. And then you might get like a photo of it, just a crappy photo just before it goes behind the like the buildings. It was a little bit like that where you kind of just I didn't want to miss this experience by taking my phone out and taking a camera. But I did decide to do that, and the second I went into my pocket to get the photo, they started moving. They started. So like the one on the right, like the bottom right, bottom left, and the top one on the bottom right just went zoom, flew to the right, just like instantly from 20 miles an hour, just straight off, no noise, no nothing. Bottom left, straight off, no noise, nothing. Top, straight through the sky. And I remember just staring at it, just going through the fucking sky, trying to take photos. Like, where the hell did that just go? Because I saw it, went through the cloud, and you could see it just disappear. And the way I described the acceleration was like if you imagine a slingshot and you like just looking at the stone, and the stone, because you've got like that like energy stored up in the elastic band or whatever you're using, and the second you let it go, it's like it goes from zero to instantly rapid, miles away from you. And it was like that. And it was a very strange thing because there was just no noise. And it just looked like it kept on accelerating because the one I remember most clearly seeing the right and the top one. I think I just glanced at the left one and that just disappeared. But the top one was the one that I was staring at the most. But I just remember seeing that it just kept on accelerating. It just like it didn't seem to stop accelerating. It just kind of just went and then faster and faster and faster and just disappeared. But I did try and get a photo, and they turned out crap. It's just like streaky lights in a dark sky, and um, I've actually got the phone in that cupboard because I don't want to get rid of that phone just because of those photos. I don't even know what the date is, but I'll be able to work out the date from finding those photos. Um, but and what it's like experiencing it is I don't know where you guys live or wherever you are, but if you've got like an animal like we've got foxes, or whether you've got like a harmless animal, but let's say if it had rabies, um, it could be a bit of a problem. Um, so let's say you're on a walk on a street, going down the street, and you come across three foxes, and the foxes are assessing you to see if you're a threat, and you're also like, this, if they attack me, this could be a bit of a problem. So it's like you're not terrified, but you just like assessing the scenario, if there's any twitchiness, to run, kind of thing. And you also know that the foxes are doing the same thing to you as well. They're just waiting for you to go run, because they're expecting danger always. They're just waiting for that twitch of any threat for them to run. And as soon as you get too close, they just par. And it was that same feeling of like, I know this sounds weird, but just it is what it is. It's that same feeling of like you were. I felt as if it was assessing me and the car, and I felt it knew I was looking at it as well. Um, Hence why, like the second I took my phone out, it just coincidentally started to move. Um, Now I don't know whether that was coincidence or whether they were actually observing, or whether there was some sort of like psychic thing, or probably just coincidence. But that's the first experience that I had, and that's by far like the one where you can't you can't just say it's like Chinese lanterns, for example, because people cast off the orbs, the orange orbs, as just Chinese lanterns. I'm like, I know what Chinese lanterns look like. You know, I've seen Chinese lanterns. They're not uncommon. Um, you can go look at a video of a Chinese lantern, and you can see one in the air, and it looks nothing like it. And then how would a Chinese lantern just zip off? Okay, so I just get that out there because that's one thing that um, I've just been trying to figure out what the hell that was for a long time. Now, am I saying it's aliens? No. Am I saying it's US? No. Am I saying it's psychic, conscious beings? No. What I'm saying is I have no fucking idea what it is. What I am saying is there is a thing that is fucking zooming about our skies. I've seen it. Like that is like it does exist. You might choose not to believe me, but to me it's like, what is that thing? What was that thing? Like I've got no frame of reference as to what that thing was. And um, now the good thing about social media and the way it is now, you can type in like orange orbs over England, orange orbs over wherever. Type in orange orbs, Harrogate or Leeds, and there'll be a few that come up, or Yorkshire or something like that. Um, like other people have seen this as well. It's not just me. And um, one of my close friends has seen one as well, who I wasn't expecting to see one either, because the most recent sighting that I had was 25th of December on Christmas last year. And I got a video. I got that on video. I got it on video, so I'm gonna post it up. I was in a taxi on the way back from my parents to mine, and um, I was chatting gas to the taxi driver, but I just saw it straight ahead. What is that thing? This bright orange thing. Um, See, this is where like on my pretty much all four of the other five um, like sightings for me, um, it is the same thing, but you could more easily argue that being something else, even though, like, intuitively, I would say at least, well, I'd say one of them probably is something else. Like, the more I thought about it over the years, the more I think that was probably because it's the only one that's not in Leeds, and I was on a cruise looking out into the ocean, and I think that was probably like a plane, like I was looking at some sort of plane route, which there is one above Leeds as well, and I do know the difference because I can see it from my house. I can see like the planes coming in. I know where they fly. Okay, I can see you. I can hear you. And I think this one in the middle of the Mediterranean was that thing. It just so happened to be in a weird line of sight, and I got a bit booked out. I was probably about 13. But second one was, want to say 2010 or 2012 or something like that. I was a bit older, and it was Halloween night, and Same orange orb. I was just walking down the street wearing a bloody, I was dressed as Teen Wolf. Um, I just was walking down the street with a few pals and looked up in the sky and saw it for about, because I was on this place called Wigton Lane in Leeds in Old Woodley, and trees on either side, just saw it come over. Probably lasted 2-3 seconds. The same like deep dark fire, orange, unflickering orb, not a Chinese lantern. Okay, just like steady, just that. Okay, and it was fairly fast. I'd say that was moving up. We're not talking the insane zip speeds. We're talking faster than a plane by like 3 times or 2 times. You know, when you see a plane go past it, I mean, it was probably lower than a plane, so it probably seemed faster, but it was probably higher than the first 3 orbs by a little bit. And the speed as to which it, like steady speed as to which it moved past, it probably took, let's say, a second and a half for it to like cross the road. This sounds absolutely, I'm doing a really bad job about explaining this, but that's the second one. Just the same one singular orange orb, and just crossing the road. I remember just seeing it, I was like, oh, there's that thing again, and that inspired me to go on deep dives. Third one is the one I'm unsure of, which is in the Mediterranean. I was like in a cabin on a cruise, looking outside. Parents were asleep there, and I was on a bed that had been folded outside the wall because I was a kid at the time, and I was just looking out the balcony, which was open because it was a nice Mediterranean day. And I just saw these like golden lights that just kept on coming and appearing right in this little gap that I was looking through. But it was probably a plane path. Okay, but I thought I might as well tell you that because I don't know what it was, but it's probably a plane path. Fourth one was 2020, which was also Halloween, which is weird. And I was driving because I'd stopped drinking at this point for a brief period. I've fully stopped now, but at this point, I kind of already was needing to stop, and I had stopped for a little bit. So I was essentially the designated cab driver to this Halloween party that we were at, and I was dropping some absolutely twatted friends off. They were just so wasted, passed out in the car, dropping them off back home, and it was just near a place called Wyke in Leeds, which is mainly like golf courses and fields and stuff like that, and just open farm fields. And it's hilly. That's the thing about Leeds, is it's quite hilly. So when you get to the top of hills, you can see like some really good views. And we're like kind of at the top of this hill, just looking out, and then just saw this like orange orb, steady again. It was 3 a.m., 2:30, 3 a.m., just steady, bright, dark, orange orb just floating over, really slow, um, like, but steady. There was no wind that was blowing it about, or like like slowing it down or speeding up. It was just like a steady, just unrelenting, just kind of, don't even know what it is, don't even know. But yeah, fifth one, as I mentioned, was Christmas Day last year. But I'll be uploading that video. I'll be uploading that video just whenever, like shortly. And I was in the cab with my fiance, and taxi driver. Taxi driver thought it was a hot air balloon, but It could have been a hot air balloon. I don't know, but I remember we drove past it after we kind of lost it. Like, it was hard to. You'll see in the video. I spotted it through my eyes straight, obviously with my eyes, but straight in my line of sight. I kind of knew it was I knew it was the thing. Like, I'm gonna go out on a whim and say I do think this is one of those weird orbs because it did the same. I don't know if I mentioned, but on one of the three, like, it looked like it flickered out and then came back in. It did the same as that, in that it was staying in one spot dead still, and it just seemed to like flip. It's almost like one side's light and one side's dark, and it like does like a flip. And I don't know. Yeah, it looks like it flickers in and out, and it kind of just like it's turning on and off almost. But I could see it doing that, and it was staying in the same spot, and it was above. It was above the David Lloyd in Leeds on the ring road. We drove past it, and it was staying there. And we like our car went down this hill, like our car went down the hill, and then past it. And I remember it was in front for ages, and then we went past it, and we missed it at the side. There was like a blind spot where it was above the car, and then you could see it behind the car. So it was just still, and it was an orange orb, and I was like so happy I got at least an orange orb that was floating in the same area because it's near the Moortown BP garage, which is where I saw the first three orbs. So so literally, like, we'd crossed. So it was there, David. If you go on a map, you'll just go have a look if you're interested. I'm not expecting you to, but like, there's a David Lloyd down the ring road, the Moortown BP garage here, and then Roundhay up here. So we were coming from Roundhay down the ring road, and then we went past the Moortown BP garage, and then to the David Lloyd, and then coming up that way was where I saw the first one, and coming like the first one where there was three, and coming down this way ahead was where I saw this other one. And then I was so happy that I got this thing on record, and I was the only so I'm sober for 2.5 years, but the only time I do drink is on Christmas, and I have about 5 beers maximum. I stopped myself, so pretty I was chatting a lot of shit to the taxi driver, but I remember sending um, it straight to the boys, and like um, my mate Gianni. So without going into a life story, like, it's kind of an old set of boys, but being put back in touch more recently because I went to uni, and also I didn't really speak to many of my friends at school about this because other than like another set, but I don't want to go into a life story. Let's just forget that. Another set I was talked to a lot. It wasn't this set. And then at uni, I was telling my mates at uni about it, and then after I got reconnected with this old group of friends, I didn't really speak about it that much, but so I sent to all the other boys, like, I told you, there's some weird shit in Skies of Leeds. And then I sent this to the new set of, well, the other set of lads, and my mate Gianni was saying, James, it's funny that you have sent me this because I too have also seen that exact thing hovering in the exact space, because he's always at that gym, and he says he's looked at it for. This guy's a doctor, by the way, earning a ridiculous amount of money, private doctor. He wanted to be a titty surgeon growing up, and he became a surgeon, and he makes a ton of money renting out a lot of properties. This guy's not, we're talking, this guy's a smart guy. Like, he's one of the only guys in my friendship group um, whereby he's clearly more intelligent. Like, when you just know like when you're talking to him, it's not like book smart or anything. You just know like he's sharp and switched on. And he was like, "Look, I was looking at this thing for 2 minutes and I couldn't figure out what it was doing, and it was the same orange orb. And I'll screenshot that, and I can provide receipts for all this sort of stuff. So I go back in the chat history, I'll screenshot that and I'll pop it on this channel somewhere as well, and I'll make a note of this. Okay, pop it on the channel somewhere so you can see that it's not. I'm not just making up this random story. This was on Christmas as well, so it should have the date and time there and everything. But anyway, those are the experiences that I've had, and you know, I think it has just caused like a weird obsession with it ever since a young age. I've been obsessed with this. So, in terms of like value of what I think I can provide is for you guys at home, is I feel like I can assess videos of UFOs and I can fit them into a frame of reference, having seen something, and sense, okay, does that look like the weird shit that I've seen, or does that look like some basic level human tech, or basic level tech that's not it might not be alien, or just not like much less impressive than what there is. Okay. Also, when it comes to characters in the space, I'm also quite good at assessing the people as well. And I think, when you look at the classics, you've got Bob Lazar, George Knapp, and George Knapp's an absolute legend, by the way. Blowing the story of Bob Lazar back in the 80s. Like, just you can tell he's caught the bug and is interested in finding some truth. Whether he's, I think he's kind of trustworthy. Same with Jeremy Corbell, although I do have a few issues with Jeremy Corbell, but nothing that's like making me not trust him. And I do like him. It's just essentially the first time he went on Rogan with Bob Lazar, I felt as if he came across as a little bit like on the defense and almost a bit aggro, but that's neither here nor there. And then James Fox, I don't know what to think of James Fox. James Fox he blew the Virginia, the fucking vagina in Brazil story. And Lord knows what that is. I have no idea what the hell that is, whether that's a load of crap or whether that's true. But he blew the lid on that story, and, well, at least blew the lid in terms of mainstream Western media, because I'd never heard of that before, and I'd been pretty darn deep in the trenches. I think some of the things on the Rogan experience with James Fox, like, I feel as if he kind of tries to dodge certain subjects, and move away from answering certain things where he gets asked, where I'm like, that's a bit weird. Why don't you just answer that? But like, why isn't he answering that? Is it because he's got a source that he doesn't want to screw up because he's been told something in confidence, or whether he's like a CIA asset, or trying to avoid, like, control the what people are talking about, like the direction of where people go. I tell you who I believe is full of shite, by the way, is Dr. David Greer, and everything about that guy just seems like a fucking phony. I've looked at his Amazon Prime series, I feel like he's just a big fat faker. Um, you can see what he tries to claim as like, oh, I conjured up this UFO alien thing, and I got a photo of it. I'm like, mate, you've just got a sparkler gun like that with the aperture at like 50 seconds and got like a cool little wave thing, and you're trying to say that that's like an alien face. It's like, come on, how dumb do you think people are? And not only that, is he took shots at Bob Lazar as well, and Bob Lazar to me, whether I don't know if he's, obviously no one knows if he's telling the truth, because until you see something for yourself, you can't be 100% certain. But he doesn't seem like he's lying to me, really. And if he is, he's a good liar because he's got me hook, line, and sinker. But, Gray takes shots at him, and I'm like, he's got more, like, Lazar has more credibility to me than Gray, just from what they've both put out there. And I feel like he actually is like some sort of plan to kind of question truth or direct the community's line of thought, kind of thing. Not really, I'm not really sold on that person. Um, but hey, everyone's got their own opinions. Just telling you what I think, and I think you know there's also that latest Rogan of 2025. I think it's 2264 or something like that, where the guy is on about him. He's seen an alien. Supposedly, he's seen an alien in um, like Nevada or something, on in the desert. Like he was on a patrol in the army, and then he saw this guy who looked blue, and he had big almond eyes coming up to there, and he had like a spotless army uniform on, and speaking to him telepathically and all this kind of stuff. And there's the other guy on there who seemed like a fun guy, um, who, yeah, I believe he's also seen some stuff, which is what stimulated him to get passionate about it as well. He's definitely got the bug. I can tell because I've got the bug as well. I can recognize it in him, where he's just obsessed with this stuff. But the guy who saw the alien, that I don't know what to make of that guy, because he didn't seem like the guy with the capacity to be able to lie or act, not lie, but he didn't seem like a guy with the capacity to be able to lie to the extent where it is that believable, like Oscar level acting, because you could tell he was like nervous, a bit awkward about it. Um, when it comes to his experience, I'm gonna just go out there and say I think I might actually believe him. I think I might. But I'm let's say I'm like 80%, 70% believing, 30%. Come on, man, a fucking blue tall alien. So you're saying how it was a tall white, but he was 5'6". That made me think like, are you just trying to cover for yourself? I don't know, but when it comes to like him talking about all the other stuff that he's researched, that I don't quite know if I believe that so much, because it wasn't his true experience. When it comes to his experience, I think I'm leaning more towards believing him than not. But as I say, I think Lazar's probably the most solid, believable out of the lot. Um, you know, but I know I've ranted on quite a lot on this introductory video of just trying to introduce myself onto the channel and kind of give an insight of some value. And I think because I'm just passionate about this, I'm just gonna see where it takes me and just give my 2 cents on things. And I'd also like to talk to people as well. I'm not expecting this to get very many views, if any. But if someone wants to just talk about this stuff, with like in a no pressure environment, with probably no one watching, but just actually wanting to learn from each other, and I'll record it and I'll pop it on this channel, then just hit me up or subscribe, or do what you want. Just get in contact with me somehow. That would be good. But yeah, so going forward, just now and again, I'm going to pop up one of these UFO videos, just like a little side passion. But if you are interested and wanting to keep in touch, give it a little subscribe. Give this video a like, because it's my first video, and I know it's crazy, begging for fucking likes on a first video, but like, I don't know if people are going to enjoy this or not, because I don't know if you've ever recorded yourself and like listened to yourself back. Like, you always think you sound weird, don't you? Like on your when just anytime you record your voice, and you listen to it back, you're like, oh god, that's cringy. But if anyone found it and any value from this, a like would be appreciated so much. And thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you again. Catch you later.